Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald, Barrington, Robinson, and friends. Seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. See us on YouTube and Facebook, people. Subscribe to the show, RBRIMO. It is free. I would like to introduce my very talented co-host. We have attorney Glenn Cotton.
Ron, how you doing today?
Great. We have the most esteemed Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron. Our audience. Good to be here with Glenn Cotton.
Welcome on. Let's talk about tariffs. This is June 8th, 2019. President Trump, according to the latest news, all right, has made a deal with Mexico. So come Monday, the 10th, he will not be instituting this 5% against Mexican goods coming into the United States. But folks, tariffs are bad for everybody, okay? Because all it does, we the students, we the people have to take care of this, all right? And so be careful for what you wish for. You may get it. Glenn, what are your thoughts on tariffs?
Well, I have a real problem with tariffs, and that is it's us, the consumer, that ends up bearing the brunt of everything. Mm-hmm. People may have intentions or side intentions as to why a particular tariff was put in place, but in the end, it only hurts the United States consumer, who ends up bearing the burden of that tariff. I'm very, very dissuaded by tariffs in general. They haven't worked with respect to the trade war that we have entailed with China. They haven't worked with respect to the European Union and this Brexit exit and whatnot. So I believe that we have a lot of issues regarding trade that need to be examined, but I'm fundamentally opposed to a tariff. And I just think that it hurts us, the American consumer, in the long run, and we end up paying for it regardless. So there's nothing that I could see that's good for a tariff. To me, it's fundamentally flawed.
And also, too, with these tariffs, especially the one that I call it a bully pulpit with Trump and Mexico. Okay, that is not going to work. That's not going to stem the flow of those folks seeking asylum. All right, from those South American countries. It's not just South America. It's a lot of other countries that's coming through. You've got Africans. You've got Portuguese. You've got a whole host of other people coming through the southern border. So don't let them think that, or don't you let the news media, whomever, electronic print or whatever, make you believe that it's only it's only people from Mexico, because there's all kinds of folks coming that way, seeking a better life. Sure, there's going to be drugs coming. You can't help that, but a lot of that stuff is bullshit. Okay, in terms of drugs, because the vast majority of drugs come through buses and trucks and cars. All right, and people walking across the.
Ron, you missed the biggest number one transporter of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Boats.
See, exactly.
People want to talk about people being mules and drugs coming across the border, the Mexican border. Drugs, unfortunately, do come across many border crossings, but it's primarily the port cities, whether it be Miami, whether it be Los Angeles, whether it be New York, cities that are on the ports that have a lot of international trade that bring in a lot of the drugs. And we're going to be honest, when we're talking about heroin, we're going to talk about fentanyl, we're going to talk about things of that nature. Those drugs, unfortunately, are coming across from China. So when we start talking about the border, all right, and we want to say, oh, God, we got to stop all of these people from coming across the southern border, I really think that the immigration problem is a problem, and we were talking about this beforehand, and it's generally speaking the people who are in the majority now feeling that they're not going to be in the majority anymore, and they want to do everything that they can to try to make sure that they stay in the majority, and allowing immigration of people who are brown skinned or people who do not look like them is the last thing that they want to have. The notion of e pluribus unum does not seem to apply to people of color. And that tends to be a problem from my point of view, because I think as a nation of immigrants, first and foremost, that we should allow all people in so long as they're going to abide by our American way. And our American way is one that we believe in the rule of law, we believe in the power of commerce, more importantly, we respect the individual rights of one another's. And it just is depressing to see all of this rhetoric go into protecting the southern border, so to speak, when the most porous border that we have in our country is the northern border.
Canada.
I've been through the Lewis and Clark Expedition Trail on the river, and I meandered in and out of the United States and Canada like it wasn't any problem. And people want to talk about, oh, we got national security interests, things of that nature. If a terrorist really wanted to come into our country and do some damage and infiltrate us and smuggle some stuff across, you could rest assured they wouldn't be trying to come in through the southern border because of the amount of attention that the southern border gets. It would come through the northern border because the northern border gets no attention whatsoever. When you get in between Windsor and Vancouver and you see that vast openness that exists there, people can walk through there like there is no tomorrow. And people are so fascinated and focused on building a wall or fence and this and that. If we look to the history of walls and we look at the Berlin Wall and we look at what it did and how it ended up, walls never work. What needs to be happening is technology and modernness can come in to protect the borders. You can have electronic laser sensors that can detect somebody crossing the border. You can have drones that can videotape and watch somebody crossing the border. You can see and organize posses coming across the border with respect to that, and you can do things to prevent and or try to round these folks up. But to say that you're going to build a wall or you're going to do something that you're going to spend this vast amount of resources to construct a wall that's going to prevent somebody from crossing the border, so to speak, I think really minimizes what our national interest is. And our national interest isn't just to protect the southern border, it's to protect the northern border, it's to protect our waterway border, it's to protect every part of the United States from something that can be horrific to us. And if we don't start looking to our complete border security and we only focus on the southern border, then we're going to miss really what protection is supposed to mean, because we're going to fall asleep on something coming across our northern border, and then when it comes across, and whether it's that dirty bomb or something of that nature that gets across there, we're going to have ourselves a whole host of problems because we've been focusing our mindset on the southern border because of the so-called illegals coming across there. And I really believe, Ron, that that's just a smoke screen. But when we disguise everything with respect to tariffs and we put that back into the picture, see, the tariffs just fan and stoke the flames of this issue of building a wall or having southern border security. Because when we were talking about our tariffs with Canada, you didn't hear anybody talk about any building wall on the northern shore. You didn't hear anybody, we need more border patrol agents on the northern border. We haven't heard anything about that nature. But if we really want to think about it, when we have these mass shootings, when we have these mass killings, when we have these mass crimes that are committed by somebody, they're generally perpetrated by somebody who's Caucasian, number one. Number two, that person 8 times out of 10 has had some sort of military training. And number three, that person harbors and fosters we'll say at the very least, racist thoughts with respect to other people who are not like themselves. So I look back and I see everything that's going on, and I really think that tariffs are being used to stoke the whole mindset of building a wall and trying to divide and get people riled up. And it really unfortunate, but I think it just fundamentally hurts us as Americans.
You know, you mentioned the northern border. All right, I've spent a lot of time, you know, in Canada and so forth, and I've been up there. You can cross the northern border like walking across the sidewalk, okay? Your sidewalk or your road, all right? Take you 10 seconds to walk across from Canada to the United States. And it's... They've already started with the drones and shit flying over these walls. All right, I mean, how high are they gonna put the walls? Okay, so it's ridiculous. It's just a bunch of foolishness to confuse the people. All right. The southern border. Oh, the wall is going to resolve. It's going to settle. It's going to stop all of the illegal drugs. It's crazy, folks. It's not going to happen. You'll see. Henry, what's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, this argument began in a flawed way. You have to look at the population density between the South and the North. You hope to assume that the people in the North look more like the president, and therefore we're easier and we have less barriers. But that may be. But still, the truth of the matter is that the population density isn't there. And besides, the terrain won't give opportunities for people to lay and wait for long hours. It gets cold up there at night and during the seasons of the year. Now, Mexico is quite a bit different. The population density is probably 3 or 4 times that of, maybe much more than Canada. I haven't taken a look at any numbers here, but I can guess that, and I think you all will agree with me. But tariffs, the tariff proposed by the president is not to punish Mexico, but is to get Mexico's attention, because they have an obligation under the Monroe Doctrine and all of those things that still is effective in this country. Mexico is one of our subordinate nations that we have agreed to protect on this continent.
It's also a leading exporter. America's leading exporter. Importer.
Yeah, it's both of those. And we want to maintain good relationships with both Canada and Mexico. Should we ever be attacked by foreign powers from the east, they would be in a line of defense. We depend on them. We need immigration, and the Mexican immigrants are some of the best in the world. They can technologically, they do well in the plants that they come here to learn their skills. They're great artisans, particularly with stone and other kinds of materials like that, and we need them. They can do things that certain part of the American population has lost its ability to do. They can work in the hot sun, they can work in the cold winter, and they never complain. But try to get English-speaking people to do that. It's difficult. we do need those people that, and they're good at farming. We would starve to death without them, because there's very few people will go out and work in a field.
You mean pick the crops?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm so sick and tired of people putting people down. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of professional Mexicans.
Oh, they're not
Okay.
put down. No,
What?
we don't put down the Mexicans.
But that's what you're doing.
Yes,
that's
I
what,
am.
That's
I'm
what you're
starting
doing.
at the bottom.
Okay, no.
I
But
just
see,
said
the
that
thing,
we
the
have
thing about it,
engineers. No,
it's a
I'm
whole lot of educated people from South America, not just Mexico. All right, people. So
Let me straighten you out, folks.
Don't get
This
fooled.
is the wrong assumption.
Don't
wrong
get
statement.
fooled with that mess. All right.
I've worked with many Mexican engineers and stuff like that, and I've had some as my students, and they do well.
Well, then we should give them credit for
Well,
that.
first of all, we're going to start where
Teachers,
we have
professors, doctors, nurses.
We do.
All right, other technological people. Okay.
We're talking about things that unite us, not things that divide us. And this is what we ought to be talking about, the things that unite us. But we prefer to talk about things that discredit.
I don't.
And
I
that-
don't. That's you, Henry. I don't discredit anybody.
I'll have to let Ron have that conversation.
Okay. Well, then, in my opinion, you know what I mean. These are human beings. They need to be respected. You want respect. I want respect. Glenn wants respect. These folks need respect too. Okay. And all I hear is this old foolishness on TV all the time. Oh, drugs, M13, and all that foolishness. Okay. Let's talk about the good things.
So as I was saying, folks, we dwell on the good things. And I was talking about the tariff, what the president was trying to do with the tariff. He was trying to encourage Mexico to do something different about the migration that's coming into this country. We don't have the space or the jobs to even provide for the people in this country. There are many people in this country, both black and whites, who are without jobs. And yet, most of the people that comes in, particularly from Mexico, are better educated than we are, than our general population. So, and they have a skill to offer the economy that keeps the economy booming. And this is what I want you to understand that I'm saying, is that without them, we can do little. So, but the president hopes, and I believe that this is working. He's decided to drop this 5% tariff increase in lieu of what the president of Mexico has promised him to do, to get tougher on people who walk into this country without being authorized. That is the sanctity of sovereignty that we must all protect and defend.
Well, also, too, in my opinion, all right, the United States should keep their asses out of South America because, according to stated information, you got people down there stirring up folks down there in these countries, all right? And the United States is good at doing that, all right? They're good at stirring up and take, in other countries.
I thought we were going to work on the things that unite us instead of divide us. I don't know that people are stirring up stuff down there. I have no intelligence on that.
The United States has their hands in. We're already in 160 different countries.
And that's okay.
Okay.
And
I'm not
so are
saying
most
I'm not
people,
saying
and-
it isn't, but I'm saying in the present administration, all right, they're supporting the guy down there in Venezuela. Now, because I guess in Trump's mind he's a strong man, just like the guy in North Korea, he's a strong man. All right, but they're all
our adversaries. They're our adversaries.
Exactly.
He's trying to keep shows like this from criticizing his moves. He'll give you something to think about.
If you watch,
So it looks good that we are partnering with North Korea. Don't believe it.
Well, that's not my opinion. It was shared probably by hundreds of millions of folks that, these people are North Koreans are killing up their folks. Honduras down there killing up folks.
Business.
Okay, Russians are killing up folks.
If it's not any of our business, why would you share a stage with that man? Why would you give him a photo opportunity at the very least?
I don't think he talks about that.
But see, that's a problem, is that the world does talk about it. And the world looks at us.
Here's a man that would like to drop a bomb right down your smokestack.
He would definitely like to drop a bomb.
No, I'm talking about the man in Korea. There's got to be some sovereign, intelligent approach to dealing with him. And also, a number of years ago, President Bush had the same problem. And we just, he's back again. And
well, see, that's part of the problem in knowing your enemy. Back in the day, when you knew you did not like the Russians, you wanted to kill them, they wanted to kill you.
Yeah.
All right? I don't look at the North Koreans any different today than I did when I was a boy, and that is, I still want them to be wiped off the face of the map, and I know they want to wipe me off of the face of the map. So when my leader seems to buddy up and chum up with the guy, I have a problem with that, because...
But you don't know his motive and his strategy.
He has none as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but that's, you haven't asked him.
I don't need to ask him.
Then the supposition.
No, the supposition is I'm not going to let you get the picture.
In a court of law, now you are a man of rope, right?
Well, I practice law, that's correct. Okay.
Now, you can't condemn anybody until you have the facts, the evidence.
The facts are out there.
You got to have a reasonable degree of certainty, 90% degree of certainty that this is true. You don't know that about Korea?
About what in Korea? That they want to blow us up?
Well, I'm talking about Trump's position against him. That he's a buddy of his.
Well, my question to you is this, and this and that.
That could be surreptitious.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Hatter. You're a very well-respected man in the state of Michigan, well-respected in the country. Do you take pictures with your enemies?
I try not to.
You try not to. You see, that's the whole thing.
I probably do, because they're around me all the time.
But see, you would tend to walk away from that picture that you thought somebody who was adversarial to you, because you don't want to be associated and give them the dignity of having you in their picture.
I understand what you mean.
And that's my whole point.
But you're a man of the law.
Yes, and he's the president.
You would defend a North Korean, as quickly as you would defend an American.
No, I wouldn't, because I'm going to defend an American first and foremost, because I took an oath to defend the Constitution.
But that's what you do in a case of law. If you had a Korean here and he was being
charged with
something, I believe that you would defend him as strongly as you would defend any American.
Well,
you took the oath.
I say again, when I have taken the oath and I'm upholding my oath, but again, when we're talking about the President of the United States and we're talking about a picture, and that picture we talked about, this from back in the day when they had Polaroids and things of that nature. They used to always say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Mm-hmm. All right. So if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then why am I going to let somebody have a picture with those 1,000 words that I don't like? See, I'll say this, Mr. Hatter, I respect you. I admire your positions. I don't always have to agree with you, but it would always be an honor for me to have a picture taken with you because of who you are and what you've done.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's who you are and what you've done. Again, it has to do with respect. And when you respect somebody, you will let the chips fall where they may, because you say to yourself, this picture, which is worth 1,000 words, I'm going to allow to be taken because of respect. So when I don't respect somebody, like I don't respect the leader of North Korea, I don't respect other folks, I'm surely not going to let myself be taken in a picture with them. There are certain individuals, I don't care what their title is, if I don't respect them, you will not see a picture of Glenn Cotton next to them. Notwithstanding, Mr. Hatter, you're a very influential Republican. That doesn't bother me because I respect you, and if somebody wanted to take a picture of me and you, I say, go ahead and take the picture because I respect Mr. Hatter. I don't agree with his positions all the time, but I respect him.
And that's what I'm hoping that the audience will see, that we don't have to agree. All we want to do is bring an argument before the public, and after we've done some examination on that so they can have something to know on, to think
Well,
about.
see, you want to always have somebody, and this is the problem with our public today, and that is they're too quick to make a determination and less quick to get the facts behind that determination.
That was my point.
And see,
Attorney Cotton.
we tend to get quick to have the snapshot, but we don't want to know what's behind the snapshot.
And that's why I ask, I say, go back again and again. You're an attorney, you took an oath. So if you had a foreign national here and he was charged with something, you would have to defend him.
Well, put it to you this way. If it fell in my obligation, the case was appointed to me, and I accepted that appointment, then of course I would defend him to my utmost. But if I had a choice, and I didn't have to defend the North Korean, you can rest assured that I wouldn't defend the North Korean.
Now, this is what you said that ought to resonate with most Americans. There are many black incidents with black people that many attorneys wouldn't take. But there were some who had the courage, the tenacity, to forward, to take the case. And I think To Kill a Mockingbird, that was well portrayed as.
Well, see, that I think that builds off of what I think you're trying to build off is that there were many white attorneys that took on black criminal cases, especially in the earlier days in the 20s and 30s, that there were not many black attorneys, and they defended black clients, and they were ridiculed by their community for defending these black folks. And the one thing that I will say about an attorney who's an ethical attorney is going to look to what his oath is, and his oath is ultimately to justice. All right, you want to seek justice. And sometimes I've represented a whole lot of folks over my career. Some of those folks are as guilty as sin, and some of those folks are as innocent as pie.
I want to say something real quickly, so I don't forget it. Earl Warren was such a person.
Yeah,
Earl
principal
Warren.
person.
I don't know whether anybody knows who Earl Warren is, but I would not have sat in a seat at school with other kids without his vision, without his courage.
That's correct.
And our country was completely racially biased.
That's correct.
We lived in the worst of times.
And he had the decision to make such a bold statement, and that was in line with not many other folks who had made such a bold statement. And when you mention Earl Warren, who, God rest his soul, you can mention Judge Damon Keith. Those are federal judges that took their job very serious, but most importantly, they looked to what the people are, the whole people, not just black folks, not just white folks, not just pigeonholing everybody, but the collective body of a whole.
And I just want to say about the tariff, and I know that we've kind of expanded a little bit, but I have no problem with the president doing what he's doing. If this works, we'll know in several weeks whether this is going to work.
But you would have said fundamentally, being a Republican, that you were against tariffs because tariffs generally don't lead to anything good.
Well, we live in a worldwide community. What do they call it? A national community. What do they call it? A world community.
With that, unfortunately, we got to bring the show to a close. Just when we're getting started, all right?
Yeah,
maybe we should look at an hour show sometimes. But this is Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends saying, until next time, stay focused.